Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am not there today, obviously, but what I do want to do is I want to go through the homework and also give you a chance to try some of the problems that we didn't try, because I believe that I asked you to do the odds as I was passing this out and we were leaving the class. If that's not the case, well, then I'm just going to go through all the problems. But if I did, as I think, ask you to do just the odds, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through number one, work it out. And then when I get to number two, we're gonna pause the video. I want you guys to give it a try, and then I'm gonna work it out. And then I'll do number three, and then we'll get to number four, and same thing, pause the video, and then we'll work it out. So anyway, let's get started. The first few, of course, are really easy. We have this situation with these grades where we have an 82, a 70, a 66, and then there's some kind of exam coming up that's worth double. It says worth twice as much as a typical test. We've done this, and so we could say something like X is the exam grade, okay? But because we have to count it twice, we've got to set it up like 80, not 80, but 82 plus 70 plus 66 plus 2x, because it's worth double. But then we have to account for it when we're dividing, because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got to divide it, and we want to set that equal to 80. Katie wants to get an 80%. First thing you're going to do is you just multiply both sides by 5. And then that gives you 82 plus 70 plus 66 plus 2x equals 400. You can simplify this. You get what? 152, 158, 218 plus 2x equals 400. Subtract the 218, and 2x is equal to 182, so therefore x is equal to 91. You can see that 66 really brought the grade down enough that you have to score a 91 on the exam just to get an 80. And then the question switched to, well, what if we wanted to go for a 90? And let's see how high you would have to go. Well, it's basically the exact same problem, except that 80 gets switched for a 90. And so I'm going to take this right here. And let's move it. I'm being that lazy. There we go. Okay. And we're going to say, okay, we're going to set that equal to 90 this time. And so I'm going to go ahead and say, well, if I multiply both sides by 5, again, I get 82 plus 70 plus 66 plus 2x. But this time, 90 times 5 is 450. You bring all those things together, you get 218 plus 2x is equal to 450. When you subtract the 218, you're left with 132. Yikes. Which means you would have to get 232. Which means you would have to get 116% on the exam to score a 90. Again, that 66 and that 70 sure isn't helping. And so you can see those grades have to be really high. Okay, next one. It says number 2 is one of those investment problems. It says that Cray invested in a company. He split $30,000 between two companies, rather. One yielded 10% return, the other one yielded 15% return, and his total profit was $39.50. All right, now, as I believe, I didn't assign this one, so what I'd like you to do is I want to pause the video right here, have you all work it out. I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 minutes. It's a pretty simple problem, and then you can watch the video and see how we do it. Okay, let's talk about this. So here's the big deal. The big idea is $30,000. That really relates the two amounts of money. Otherwise, really, what we're trying to do is, we're looking at profit from the first company plus profit from the second company equals the total profit. So that's how I'm looking at doing this problem. Remember, we're always kind of tracking one thing. We're trying to follow one thing. And so I look and go, okay, one of them gives me 10%. And so let's say that X is the amount invested at 10%, okay? Well then, with that in mind, we know that 30,000 is the relationship between the two of them. So therefore, we could say that 30,000 minus X would have to be the amount invested at 15%. Okay, we've gone over this plenty of times. If I told you that me and one other person had $20 total, and I only had $1, you would know that person had 19. Because, and how would you get that? Well, you take the 20, you'd subtract the 1 that I told you about. And that's what we're doing here. We're taking the total, and we're subtracting the one part that we know, this part right here, this X. And so these are our two amounts. Now, our profit is found by multiplying that percentage by the amount. And so then what I do is I say, okay, so I'm going to go 10% of this X plus 15% of this other amount, which is 30,000 minus X, looks kind of ugly, but that's what it is all equal to the total profit, 39.50. And we multiply here, this becomes 0.1X plus, let's see, 15% of 30,000 is 4,500 minus 0.15X equals 39.50. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and simplify, and I get negative 0.05x. Sometimes people put negative 0.5x, and that would be wrong. Plus 4,500 is equal to 3,950. Okay, subtract the 4,500 from both sides, and I get negative 0.05x is equal to, what does that give me, 550? Negative 550? Okay. Because I'm not doing this with a calculator, I'm going to multiply both sides by a negative 100, which gives me 5x is equal to 550, and then two more zeros. And then I divide that by 5, and so therefore x is equal to 11,000, which means 11,000 was invested at 10%, which would leave 19,000 to be invested at 15%. And so I'd want to write that answer. Okay, 11,000 invested at 10% and 19,000 invested at 15%. All right, moving on. Number 3 says, okay, we have this pot that has 6 liters of salt water. And one of the problems, we called it brine, but nobody knew what brine was, so now we call it salt water. 6 liters of salt water at a concentration, so let's look at this, 6 liters at a concentration of 200 grams per liter. Okay, how much salt water must be boiled off to get it all the way to 800 grams per liter, a much higher concentration, a concentration 4 times higher. Okay, and this problem is actually really simple if you thought about it, but we'll do it mathematically and algebraically anyway. And so how we're looking at this is we're tracking how much salt is there. So initially we got to think about the total amount of salt. And then we're going to boil some off and, no, hang on, I'm sorry. As I'm talking, I'm realizing I'm saying wrong things. We are going to look at the salt, but we're going to look at how much, though, the amount of fluid, the amount of salt water changed, okay? But again, we are looking at the amount of salt. So we start with this idea of 6 liters times this 200 grams per liter. And then we say, well, we got to come up with some kind of variable. And what's the one thing we don't know? Well, we don't know how much salt water is boiled off. Okay. And that's x, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this and say, well, we got 6 liters times 200 grams per liter. Minus, now we're going to boil some off, and that's going to be x. That's how many liters, x number of liters. And how much salt is in the water that gets boiled off? Well, 0. There's no salt in evaporated water. And so, but I account for that just to kind of show that that's in the problem. And because that equals, and now what's my new total of water? Well, it would be 6 minus x, however much came out. But now I want the new concentration to be 800 grams per liter. Again, I'm really tracking the salt here. Going, here's how much salt it had, how much salt I got rid of, and here's how much salt it had. Okay, now I didn't actually get rid of any salt, I only got rid of water, but either way, that's how I'm looking at this. So we simplify, we go, well, 6 times 200 is 1,200, minus 0 equals, okay, 6 times 8 is going to be 4,800 minus 800x. Okay, so that's how I look at it. And this becomes a very, very simple problem. You could subtract 4,800 from both sides, and you would get negative 3,600 is equal to negative 800x. Divide both sides by negative 800, and x would be equal to, what, 4.5. 4.5. Okay, and so what is that? Well, you would have to boil, have to boil 4.5 liters off, okay? And if you boiled 4.5 of the 6 liters, well, then you would have a concentration of that 800 grams per liter. All right, moving on. Number 4, about that party punch. Okay, I'm going to put up the details. The best party punch is 80% Hawaiian Punch and only 20% Sprite. Okay, Darian made 10 liters of the punch, but oh my goodness, he made it with only 50%. Bleh. 50% Hawaiian Punch, 50% Sprite. Gross. Unfortunately, the punch bowl is now full. So how much bad punch must William drink and be replaced with pure Hawaiian Punch so that the mixture is right? Okay, all right. And so then I'll introduce my variable and say that X is the amount drank. Okay, amount drank. All right. Now, I don't believe I assigned this problem, and so if that's the case, I want you to try to work this out. You got about 4 minutes. We'll pause the video right here. Okay, let's take a look at this. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to track how much Hawaiian Punch. We're going to track how much Hawaiian Punch we had, how much Hawaiian Punch we took out, how much Hawaiian Punch we added, and how much Hawaiian Punch we have in the end. All right, it's that easy. The only thing I forgot to do is 10 liters. I didn't put that detail up here. It's 10 liters is the total amount of the punch bowl or whatever. Okay, so we look at this, we say, okay, I'm looking for amount of Hawaiian Punch. So I'm looking for the original amount of Hawaiian Punch, okay? And then I took some Hawaiian Punch out because it got drank. And then I added some Hawaiian Punch back in, the pure stuff. And then in the end, I've got an amount of Hawaiian Punch. That's how I'm looking at this. I'm tracking how much Hawaiian Punch. So how much Hawaiian Punch was the initial? Well, there were 10 liters, but only 50% of it was Hawaiian Punch. So I go 10 liters times 50%, okay, minus. Now, some of it got drinking out. And that would be the X amount, X number of liters. So X liters, and that the stuff that came out was 50%, okay? But however much I took out is exactly how much I put back in, X liters. And the stuff I put back in was pure Hawaiian Punch. I cracked open a new 2 liter of pure Hawaiian Punch. And so that's 100%. And in the end, my goal is that I have 10 liters. That's what I'm trying to do, is take out X, put X back in, get 10 liters. But my finished product is 80%, okay? And that's what we have. That's the information. All we're doing is we're tracking how much Hawaiian Punch is in this. So we go 50% of 10 liters is going to be 5 liters minus 0.5x plus, let's see, 100% of x, so that's plus x, is equal to 10 liters times 80% is 8 liters. All right. So for this, I can simplify, and I'm going to get 5, and I should have had x liter. Well, 5 liters. Let's see here. And then I've got a negative 0.5 positive x. So it's going to give me plus 0.5x equals 8 liters. Subtract the 5 liters from both sides. You get 0.5x is equal to 3 liters. Divide both sides by 0.5, and x is equal to 6 liters. Okay, out of the 10 liters there, 6 liters need to be drinking down, and then you can add pure Hawaiian Punch to the remaining little bit of 4 liters that are there, and then you'll have the perfect Hawaiian Punch blend. So, William must drink 6 liters. Now, I think it's really important to try to answer these questions, because that way, in case you ever get a crazy answer, when you write it out, you'll see if it doesn't make sense. For some reason, you got negative 4.2. You go, oh, William must drink negative 4. That doesn't make sense. Okay, so hopefully that's why we do that. All right, let's look at number 5. Number 5 says, Breland and Jordan share a paper route. Working alone, it takes Breland 3 times as long as it takes Jordan working alone. Together, they complete the route in 30 minutes. Now, these are really easy. Okay, so we can say that T is how long it takes Jordan to do the route. And then, well, it would have to be 3t is the time for Breland. Jordan's time. Breland's time. Okay? That's how we'd have to look at it. But we know together they do it in 30 minutes. So we know that in 1 minute, Jordan gets 1 over t of the route done. And in 1 minute, Breland gets 1 over 3t of the route done. But that's this, when they add it together, that would be, they'd get 1/30th of the route done, because it takes them 30 minutes to do it. And so now I take this situation and we go. I think this one came out really ugly. I apologize if that's the case. Common denominator is what? 3t. So we multiply the top and bottom by 3 on this one. We get 3 over 3t plus 1 over 3t equals 1/30th. So what does that give me? 4 over 3t is equal to 1/30th. 30th. You can actually flip both sides and say 4. No, that's not what I meant to do. I could say that 3t over 4 is equal to 30. And so you can multiply both sides by 4 and divide both sides by 3. I feel like I did something wrong. Did I make a mistake somewhere? It takes her 3 times as long. Okay, no, I believe that's right. Okay, just want to make sure, yep, that looks good to me. And so multiply both sides by 4, and, oh, it's the other problem that comes out really weird. Sorry, yeah, this is the one that comes out fine. Multiply both sides by 4, and we would get that 3t is equal to 120, so therefore divide, and t is equal to 40. And so what does that mean? That means Jordan takes 40 minutes to do the route. And Breland takes 3 times that. So how long does she take? She takes 120 minutes, 2 hours. Okay. All right. Number 6. Okay. Let's try to do number 6. Number 6 is, I mean, we've done number 6 over and over and over. This is an easy problem. Okay. We got Josh. It takes him 50 minutes to eat a pizza. That's Josh. Okay. What do we got here? Curtis, 30 minutes. 30 minutes. 30 minutes for Curtis to eat the pizza. Great. How long is it going to take them working together? Okay, go ahead and do this problem. Pause the video. This should be a 2-minute problem. Ready, set, go. Okay, and we're back. So this is one of those where we said, okay, so 1 over 50th represents how long it takes or how much Josh eats in a minute, and 1 over 30 represents how much Curtis eats in 1 minute, and 1 over t, because t is their time together. So you get 1 over 50 plus 1 over 30 equals 1 over t. Man, well, the common denominator is going to be what, 150? So that's going to make this one say 3 over 150 plus 5 over 150 equals 1 over t. That makes 8 over 150 equals 1 over t. You can cross multiply, and you get 8t is equal to 150. So therefore, t is equal to, what's 150 divided by 8? Oh, golly, that's going to be an ugly one. Yep, might as well break out the calculator. Divided by 8. That's not too bad. 18.75. 18.75. Okay. Awesome. Okay, not too bad. But, so how long does it take them? It takes them about 19 minutes. Together, they eat it in 18 minutes. And 0.75 is the same thing as 3/4. 3/4 of a minute is 45 seconds. Okay. All right, and lastly, number 7. Number 7, you definitely had to do. Okay. It says a 750 milliliter bottle of fruit punch contains 30%. So we start with this bottle. It's got 750 milliliters. Okay. It's got 30% pure juice. Katie drinks out 250 milliliters and then puts 250 milliliters back in, and the new mixture is 45% fruit juice. This is just like the Hawaiian punch problem. This is just like the saltwater problem. And we're tracking this one thing. And so we're going to go through this really quickly. And so we're going to say that X is the percentage of juice in the other, in the other fruit cocktail or whatever it is. Okay, and so what we have here is we got 750 times the 30% plus, or not plus, but minus. Now, what did we take out? Well, we took out 250 milliliters, but we also took out 30%. 30% of those 250 milliliters were that pure fruit juice. And then we add back in 250 milliliters, but we don't know what this percentage is, what this of juice of this new one. But we know in the end, we've got 750 milliliters, and the new mixture is 45%. Okay? And we just kind of rock and roll through this problem. We say, okay, 30% of 750 is 225 minus 30% of 250 is 75 plus 250x is equal to 750 times 45% is 337.5. Okay, so 225 minus 75 is 150 plus 250x equals 337.5. Subtract the 150 from both sides, and you get 250x is equal to, let's see, 337 minus 150 would be what? 187.5? And we're going to divide that by 250. So we say 187.5 divided by 250 is 0.75. So what does that mean? That means the other one is 75% pure juice. All right. All right, so there's the homework. We're going to try a few other problems in just a minute, but hopefully this made some sense to you. All right.